It's January 2026. The world holds its breath as tensions in the Strait of Hormuz reach a boiling point. For years, this narrow waterway, the jugular vein of global oil supply, has been a flashpoint. But this time, it's different. This is the story of a conflict that almost was, and the delicate dance of diplomacy and military might that pulled the world back from the brink. Our story begins not with a bang, but with a whisper. A sophisticated cyber attack cripples Iran's primary oil export terminal at Karg Island. Computer screens go black, loading arms freeze, and a fleet of supertankers is left stranded. Tehran immediately points the finger at the United States and its regional allies, calling it an act of economic warfare. Washington issues a swift denial, but the seeds of mistrust have been sown deep. Intelligence agencies on both sides work furiously to trace the attack's origin. But the digital fingerprints are masterfully concealed, leaving only ambiguity and suspicion. In response, Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps' Navy, the IRGC, announces a series of enhanced security drills in the Strait of Hormuz. The world watches as fast attack craft swarm the shipping lanes, conducting aggressive maneuvers near international vessels. The message is clear. If Iran cannot export its oil, no one will. Global markets react instantly. Oil prices skyrocket, and economies already fragile from years of instability feel the shockwave. A major shipping conglomerate announces it's rerouting its fleet around Africa, a costly and time-consuming alternative that signals a complete loss of faith in the region's stability. The international community scrambles. The UN Security Council convenes an emergency session, but it quickly descends into a stalemate of vetoes and accusations. Channel diplomatic efforts, led by European and Asian powers, work around the clock, trying to find an off-ramp. They propose de-escalation zones and a multinational investigation into the cyber attack. But both sides are entrenching themselves in their positions, unwilling to show any sign of weakness. The rhetoric from both Washington and Tehran becomes increasingly heated, broadcast 24/7 on news networks around the globe. It's against this backdrop that the USS George Washington carrier strike group is redirected from the Pacific to the Arabian Sea. The official line is that it's a pre-planned deployment to ensure freedom of navigation. But everyone understands the true meaning. It's a powerful piece on the world's most dangerous chessboard. The carrier, a floating city of 5,000 sailors and over 60 advanced aircraft, represents a formidable projection of American power. Its presence is meant to be a deterrent, a clear signal to Iran to stand down, but deterrence is a dangerous game. In the claustrophobic confines of the Persian Gulf, a miscalculation could be catastrophic. The moment of truth arrives on a clear, hot afternoon. An Iranian drone, allegedly unarmed and on a routine surveillance mission, approaches the American fleet. The carrier's air wing scrambles to FA-18 Super Hornets to intercept. For several tense minutes, the jets shadowed the drone, issuing warnings over standard frequencies. The rules of engagement are strict, but the margin for error is razor-thin. What happens next is still debated. U.S. officials claim the drone made a sudden aggressive move toward the carrier. Iran maintains it was simply adjusting its course. On the bridge of the USS George Washington, the captain faces an impossible choice. With seconds to decide, and the memory of past incidents looming large, the order is given. A single air-to-air missile streaks across the sky. The drone disintegrates in a flash of light. The world has just moved one giant step closer to war. The immediate aftermath is chaos. Tehran condemns the act as a cowardly attack and vows retaliation. Hardliners in the Iranian government call for immediate military action. In Washington, the Pentagon is on its highest alert since the Cold War. Allies urge restraint, but the momentum is now toward conflict. It seems inevitable. The global stock market plummets in the opening hours of trading, wiping out trillions in value. Protests erupt in cities worldwide, with people on all sides calling for either peace or retribution. But then, something unexpected happens. Far from the cameras and the fiery speeches, a secret channel of communication, established years earlier by Swiss diplomats, crackles to life. It's a direct line, designed for exactly this kind of crisis. For 72 agonizing hours, senior officials from both nations talk. They don't negotiate, they communicate. They share intelligence, they clarify intentions, and they painstakingly walk back from the ledge. The breakthrough comes when a third-party intelligence agency, a neutral nation with no stake in the conflict, provides credible evidence that the initial cyber attack was not state-sponsored. It was the work of a sophisticated non-state actor, a rogue group of cyber mercenaries aiming to destabilize the global economy for their own profit. This crucial piece of information provides both Washington and Tehran with what they desperately need: a way to de-escalate without losing face. It allows them to shift the blame from each other to a common, faceless enemy. A joint statement is released. It's carefully worded, devoid of blame, and focuses on the shared threat of cyberterrorism. It announces the formation of a joint task force to hunt down the perpetrators. The USS George Washington slowly turns and sails out of the Gulf. The IRGC boats return to their ports. The oil tankers in the Strait of Hormuz begin to move again. The world breathes a collective sigh of relief. The crisis of 2026 served as a terrifying wake-up call. It showed how quickly modern conflicts can escalate, driven by technology, misinformation, and political pressure. But it also demonstrated the vital importance of diplomacy and the quiet, unseen channels that can pull us back from the brink. The heroes of this story weren't the soldiers or the pilots, but the diplomats and analysts who worked in the shadows to prevent a catastrophe. Their work reminds us that in an interconnected world, the path to security is not through confrontation, but through communication and a shared understanding of our common vulnerabilities. The storm passed, but the lesson remains. The line between peace and war is perilously thin, and it must be guarded with vigilance and wisdom. If you found this exploration of near-future history compelling, please consider subscribing for more deep dives into the events that shape our world. We'll see you in the next one. February 14th, 2026, preparing for the worst U.S. officials quietly brief Reuters. The military is drawing up plans for a broad, weeks-long sustained campaign against Iran, not just its nuclear sites, but its entire state and security infrastructure. The Pentagon is not planning a slap. They are planning demolition. The operation has two codenames: Operation Epic Fury, United States; Operation Roaring Lion, Israel. Two nations, one target, zero mercy. February 24th, 2026, Trump drops the hammer at the State of the Union standing before Congress. Trump accuses Iran of secretly reviving its nuclear weapons program. He calls their ambitions sinister. He warns that Iran has developed advanced missiles capable of hitting Europe and U.S. bases worldwide. Tehran fires back. Iran's foreign minister announces that a historic agreement to avoid war is within reach. But behind closed doors, Iran is repositioning its IRGC, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, its most feared elite military force. Air defense systems are being moved. Missile batteries are going online. Iran is preparing for war, while claiming to want peace. February 28, 2026, Hour 1. The storm begins 2:47 a.m. Tehran time. The sky lights up. American B-2 stealth bombers flying from Diego Garcia in the Indian Ocean cross into Iranian airspace undetected. These aircraft cost $2.1 billion each. March 1st, 2026, Day 2. Iran strikes BAC. Carry-on is in chaos, but it is not dead, and it is furious. The IRGC activates its retaliation plan. Ballistic missiles scream out of western Iran toward Israel. Iranian drones swarm Gulf state capitals Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Doha, Riyadh, Kuwait City. Iran hits everything. In Kuwait City, Iranian rockets strike near the U.S. Embassy compound. Smoke rises over the diplomatic quarter. In a stunning development, 3 U.S. Navy jets are accidentally shot down by Kuwait's own air defense system. In the confusion, the crews eject safely, but it underscores just how chaotic, how terrifying this moment is. In Dubai and Abu Dhabi, tourists hear explosions above them. Iranian missiles are intercepted by Patriot batteries, but the booms rattle skyscrapers. Airlines Etihad, Qatar Airways ground their entire fleets. Hundreds of thousands of travelers are stranded worldwide. And then early March 1st, Iranian state media does something unthinkable. They confirm it. Khamenei's dead. Iran declares 40 days of mourning and a 7-day national holiday. Iranian state TV broadcasts an emergency address, interrupted by static and tears. But across the country, in the streets where protesters had been dying for months, some Iranians don't mourn, they celebrate. March 2nd, 2026, Day 3. America reveals its true power. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio walks to a microphone outside the Capitol and delivers a message that sends a chill through every military analyst watching. The hardest hits are yet to come. The next phase will be even more punishing on Iran than it is right now. Let that sink in. The strikes that killed the supreme leader, destroyed nuclear sites, shattered missile command centers. This is not America's peak. Trump tells CNN the same thing. The big wave hasn't even happened. The big one is coming soon. General Dan Kane, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, steps to the podium at the Pentagon.com. Measured. Chilling. This is not a single overnight operation. We will take losses. But we will achieve our objectives. America has lost 6 service members killed in action, 18 seriously wounded, 3 aircraft destroyed. But the U.S. military machine is not slowing. It is accelerating. March 3rd, 2026, Day 4. The embassy ATTACK, and this brings us back to tonight. 2 Iranian drones almost certainly shot 136 loitering munitions. The same type Iran has supplied to Russia by the thousands in Ukraine pierced the airspace above Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. They find the U.S. Embassy compound. They hit it. The fire is contained. The damage is limited. But the message is seismic. Iran has just directly attacked American sovereign territory. An embassy is legally, internationally, the soil of the nation it represents. This is not a proxy attack. This is not a malicious skirmish. This is Iran attacking America. And if you understand American military doctrine, you understand that this changes everything. Here's what the Pentagon is working with right now. The U.S. has 2 carriers in the region. That's roughly 160 combat aircraft, FA-18 Super Hornets, EA-18G, Growlers for electronic warfare, E-2D Hawkeyes for battlefield command. Combined with Air Force assets at Al Udeid in Qatar and Al Dhafra in the UAE, America has more than 300 combat aircraft within strike range of Iran. Iran's Air Force, by comparison, operates Soviet-era MiG-29s and aging F-14 Tomcats, ironically purchased from America in the 1970s. Their most advanced air defense system is the Russian S-300, capable, but specifically designed to be defeated by American electronic warfare assets built over decades for exactly this scenario. Iran's asymmetric edge, its drones, its proxy militias across Yemen, Iraq, Syria. Lebanon is being systematically dismantled. Hezbollah has been weakened by 2 years of Israeli strikes. Hamas is broken. The Houthis are under pressure. Iran is running out of shields. But Iran holds one card that terrifies every strategist in Washington: the Strait of Hormuz. The IRGC has already announced its closure. 20% of the world's oil passes through that narrow 21-mile channel every single day. Iran doesn't need to destroy the U.S. Navy to score a strategic win. It just needs to block that strait long enough to send oil prices $2.200 a barrel and trigger a global recession. The U.S. knows this. That's why American naval assets are not just striking Iran, they are actively hunting and sinking Iranian naval vessels in the Gulf. The goal: remove Iran's ability to physically enforce the blockade before the global economy feels it. This is the chess match happening right now as you watch this video. Russia's watching carefully. Moscow and Tehran signed a comprehensive strategic partnership just last year. But Russia, exhausted in Ukraine, sanctioned, stretched thin, is not riding to Iran's rescue. Putin calls for diplomatic resolution. That is the language of a man who cannot afford a second front. China picks up the phone. Beijing has $400 billion in trade deals with Iran under a 25-year cooperation agreement. But China is also America's largest trading partner. Xi Jinping urges restraint. He is not moving troops. Turkey refuses to allow its NATO bases, including the critical Incirlik air base, to be used for offensive operations. But Turkey is also 15% dependent on Iranian natural gas. Ankara is walking a razor wire. The United Nations calls for an immediate ceasefire. The UN's nuclear watchdog chief warns of increasing risk to nuclear safety and urges both sides back to the table. No one is listening. Right now, as of this video, here's where we stand. Iran's supreme leader is dead. America has taken 6 combat casualties. The U.S. Embassy in Riyadh has been struck by Iranian drones. Rubio says the hardest hits haven't happened yet. Trump says a big wave is coming. The Strait of Hormuz is announced closed. Global oil markets are in free fall. Airlines across the Middle East have grounded their fleets. 787 people have been killed in Iran from strikes so far. Hezbollah has re-entered the fight from Lebanon. A power vacuum in Tehran is opening that could reshape the entire region. Embassy strike is the line that may have just been crossed. Under the Vienna Convention, an attack on an embassy is an attack on the nation itself. America now has not just the right, but in the eyes of its military commanders, the obligation to respond with overwhelming force. Rubio said the next phase will be even more punishing. General Kane said, "We will achieve our objectives." And Trump said the big one is coming soon. What does that mean? Some analysts believe it means the U.S. is preparing to target Iran's final remaining nuclear enrichment facilities buried so deep underground that only the GBU-57 massive ordnance penetrator, America's largest non-nuclear bomb, has any chance of reaching them. Others believe the next phase means going directly after what remains of Iran's military command, finishing the decapitation of a regime that started with Khamenei. And a small but growing number of voices in Washington are now whispering the 2 words the Pentagon has been wargaming for 2 decades: regime change. Not just strikes, not just degradation. A full restructuring of who runs Iran, backed by a population that has been dying in the streets, demanding exactly that. Here's the thing about a war like this. Every action creates a reaction. Every escalation demands a response. Iran just struck an American embassy. America now must respond or lose the single most powerful deterrent it possesses: the belief that attacking the United States will cost you more than you can afford to pay. But if America escalates further, if the big wave truly comes, what does Iran do next? Does the regime collapse under military pressure and a population that no longer supports it? Or does Iran, cornered, desperate, with nothing left to lose, reach for the one weapon that would change absolutely everything? The missiles are still in the air. The carriers are still in the Gulf. In a nation of 90 million, people is watching its government die and deciding what comes next. This is the most dangerous moment in the Middle East since 2003, and it is happening right now. So I want to ask you, and I genuinely want to know what you think. Will America's response end this war, or ignite something that cannot be stopped? Drop your answer in the comments below. And if you think Iran has one final move that nobody is talking about, tell me what it is. I read every single comment. If you're new here, this channel does not sugarcoat. We give you the real picture, the real weapons, the real stakes. Every single time, like this video if you want more. Subscribe so you don't miss what happens next. Because in this conflict, the next 72 hours could change the world.